My neighbor, the murderer. I lived next to a murderer. Faye Swalet was 6 years old when she was kidnapped out of her front yard. It was all over the news. I had news crews, cops, even the FBI all over my townhouse complex. My fiance and I met with the FBI 3 times. They searched our home and everything. I remember clear as day. My fiance had FaceTimed me as the cops were digging through the trash cans directly in front of my townhouse. They pulled out her boot and a bloody knife. They found her body dumped maybe 300 feet from my house. He had watched them find the murder weapon. Dumbass put it in a trash bag along with the other mail. He went to his back porch and opened his own throat. It's crazy. I had conversations with this guy. I had never knew he was a psycho until all this happened about a year ago. I used to live in a place called Sturgeon Falls. It's irrelevant, but I met a girl there and I ended up moving to Niagara Falls eventually with her. Just so you know how I got to Niagara Falls, I guess. Eventually, we broke up and I let her have the place, and I ended up having nowhere to live, so I went to the youth shelter because I was under 25. I think I was 21 at the time. And I left the shelter because I just wasn't having a good day. I was kind of down low, didn't know what to do, so I went to the liquor store and I grabbed some vodka, and I got pretty drunk. I ended up hanging out with one of the guys from the shelter and just drinking with him. Eventually, we seen this other person, and he asked if we wanted to go and have some drinks with him. This other guy, he didn't say no. Reason for saying no, he just didn't want to go at all. He just really didn't seem like he wanted to go at all, but this guy had some weed, and I really wanted to smoke a joint. So I went, because in my eyes, I didn't see any good reason not to go, so I went, and dude, soon as we got there, hit me with the back end of a handgun and kind of knocked me out of it a little bit. And then he took me down into the basement, and he's like, "You better start cleaning this mess here, or I will kill you." And me being drunk and pissed off, not really giving a fuck at the time, I told him, "You better kill me because I'm not cleaning your house." Buddy went upstairs, and I had a little bit of weed by that point, so I rolled a joint on the table, and by the time Buddy came down, I was finished rolling my joint, and I was just sitting there smoking it. And then all of a sudden, I heard the door open up, and some person came in upstairs. Turns out it was his girlfriend. And she came downstairs, and she said, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And he kind of just told her that I just came over, and I was helping them clean up. Didn't tell her the story at all. Anyways, she started freaking out. She took me and dropped me off down the road from the shelter, because she ended up being one of the girls that worked at the shelter. She told me, "Please don't tell anybody at the shelter about this and everything," because I told her everything that happened, you know what I mean? And I didn't get the cops involved or nothing like that. I just left it was. She said that she was going to leave that asshole, and as long as she got rid of that goof, I was kind of happy with that. I guess I should have done a little bit more, because that guy was... I grew up with a very mentally ill and abusive father. The summer I was 16 and my younger brother was 13. My father had shot my brother with a shotgun at almost point-blank range in our basement. Thankfully, it missed his heart by 2 inches, and he is still alive today. I came home that evening to find my stepmother cleaning blood off the tile floor like there was nothing to see. It was the most terrifying and surreal thing I have ever experienced. One would believe attempted murder would be enough to terminate custody rights, but alas, The police chalked it up to an accident, and my brother and I were too frightened of our father to say otherwise. At 18 and 15, respectively, my brother and I had packed up and left the state, never to speak to my father again. To this day, little bits of shrapnel surfaces in my brother's chest. I had a guy tell me a story a couple decades ago about how he was hiking in an area in South America. He wandered away from the other hikers in the area. The ground was wet without warning. It gave away and he got stuck into the fast-moving underground river. It was pitch black and completely submerged and at the mercy of the current. As it buffeted against him and the sides of the tunnel, after some time the current subsided and he realized that there was a larger pocket still pitch black and submerged. He said that even as he struggled to hold his breath, he didn't panic, but he realized that the water had to keep moving somewheres, so he moved around until he found another tunnel that sucked him in. At one point, he began to see light, so he punched upwards and broke through the ground and pulled himself out, soaking wet and gasping for air, and just a bit of distance from the other dry hikers who were somewhat bewildered when they saw him straggling up to them. Brain aneurysms. A good friend died of a brain aneurysm. One of the hardest working and smartest people I ever known. She got a vet degree, got married, and had a kid. And 3 months later, her husband found her unconscious on the floor when he got home. She never woke up. As well as cancer. Somebody close to me that I knew personally was a trucker. He worked for years, and he was in a long relationship with a very close person in my life. But he was going to the hospital and told that he had a chest infection and it would go away, he'd be doing fine. And about a week before he passed away, he got told that it was actually in fact lung cancer. And within a few days, within a week, he was gone. One day I was chilling in the middle of town with my girlfriend and a friend of mine. This guy shows up on a bike and said he had just biked all the way from Nova Scotia. At the time, we were in Ontario. And he was talking to my friend, asking him about drugs. And I didn't really realize what was going on. I turned around and my friend went up into the apartment building across the road. And the building across the road, you can go up the stairs and then just go up right across the hall and right down and out through the back door. Well, it turns out Buddy had the guy's money, and that's what he did. He told him that he was going to pick up drugs for him, and he decided to just go through the hallway and take off through the back door and rip Buddy off for his drugs, knowing that he just biked all the way from Nova Scotia. And I didn't know this at the time, so I'm sitting there talking to the guy with my girlfriend. We have bikes too, but I have a BMX and she has like a kid's mountain bike, just a little bike. Nothing that you can really get away on. So I'm sitting there and about 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes go by. Buddy's starting to get anxious and I'm starting to get nervous. So I whisper into my old lady's ear, get home. She tries to make an excuse up to start biking home. And Buddy's like, you ain't going nowhere. No, even though we weren't involved in the deal at all, he tried to say that my girlfriend wasn't allowed to leave. So I said, just go. So she got on the bike and took off. And Buddy showed me a gun that he had in his waistline. So I'm like, oh shit, here we go. I give my girlfriend a good probably few minutes to get away anyways. I jump on my bike and just start booking it. And Buddy's right close behind me. Buddy just biked from Nova Scotia, so he's like a professional biker. He's coming. He got right close to me. He pushed me off my bike and then comes above me and puts the gun right inside of my mouth. And he's staring down at me, and he's like, "You better get my money back or I will blow your brains out." Was scariest moment of my life. Luckily, the headlights of a car, you could see them right behind them, and it was a lifesaver because Buddy got up and he said, "You're lucky," and took off on his bike, and I had never seen him again. I biked home as fast as possible. I punched my friend in the mouth and broke one of his tooths. I didn't want nothing to do with that dude ever again. He really, really pissed me off. Created one of my worst days ever. Just for $40. I'm not going to mention where this story took place for the sake of the victim and their family. I don't want to bring it up and hurt any of them if they heard the story. So, I was in the woods behind an apartment building where we used to live, me and a friend of mine that I grew up with. We were probably like 11, 12 years old. We used to go through the woods all the time and catch salamanders, snakes, things like that. So one day we were just going through the trails, because there was all kinds of trails back there you could go, and there was like a big water tower and all kinds of different things. People just walked on them and stuff like that. But there were some really, really creepy areas in the woods too. But we were just hanging out, just chilling. I think we caught a couple snakes, maybe a salamander or two, and we heard a four-wheeler off in the distance just going around, and we heard a bunch of bangs. Bang, 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 bang. We didn't know what it was. We were just kids. We didn't know if it was fireworks or gunshots or what, but it was eerie and kind of scary. So we were on edge. We figured we should probably start heading towards home. But, young, being distracted, we were still screwing around catching bugs and animals and stuff. So we hear the four-wheeler getting a little louder. We didn't know, or but two and two together, that the banging was coming from whoever had the four-wheeler. But that's besides the point. We do get nervous from the four-wheeler, not knowing who it is. So by the time it does get to us, we do kind of realize maybe we should hide. So we duck in the woods, and we just get into the bush before the four-wheeler comes down the trail we were on. So we were sitting there like, holy shit, I hope the hell he didn't see us. I guess he didn't, because Buddy kept going, and Buddy eventually just kept going farther and farther away. So we thought he was gone, so we just started screwing around again. And we see something off in the distance, but at this point it just looks like it's a mattress. So we go over, we think it's probably just a little fort somebody made up or something. And we start seeing red everywhere, and we start getting a little nervous. We look over at each other, and we're like, should we keep going? We ended up keep going anyways, and we noticed that there was a woman tied to a mattress, and she had holes all through her, and we got the hell out of there. We know damn well that there's no way she was breathing. We ran home, and we never told anybody about it. Well, he might have eventually told people about it, but I kept it. I never told anybody until now. So there you go. I hope you liked it. I didn't.